Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are St. Louis.
This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. A beautiful night here in downtown St. Louis. The Cardinals are red hot, trying to make it 8 wins in a row. It's game 2. The Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals. With those 8 wins, the Cardinals find themselves just 1 game back of the league leader, Chicago. And welcome to Cardinals baseball. It's a celebration of the 1987 champions here tonight at the ballpark. Rick was a part of that. I'm Dan. Jim Hayes is with us as well. The Cardinals are being led this season by a couple of young guys offensively.
And let's start with Tommy Pham, and his story really began against these Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. He had a breakout series, and he's been doing nothing but hitting since. He does it with some passion. He's had extra base hits. He is great on the bases, and Pham has also shown that he can play the outfield. He was really a big part of the offense when not a lot of guys were hitting. But he's been joined by Paul DeJong since the 28th of May. DeJong is hitting .286, 40 RBIs, and he leads the team with 16 home runs, Dan, including what he's done the last 2 nights.
And it's been providing insurance for the club. Against Kansas City, driving in Tommy Pham. Then again last night, driving in too late. Outstanding work from 2 young guys, Tommy Pham and Paul DeJong. 1987, the White Rat led the Cardinals to the World Series. Where's Rick Horton? There he is. Remembering 1987 is coming up.
and third base coach, Nick Leyva. Now let's meet some of the players.
The 10th, tied at 8. Orozco ready to throw the first pitch to Herr, and he hits it a mile. Tommy Herr could have a grand slam. Tommy Herr does. Tommy Herr belts a 10th inning grand slam.
With huge hits like that all season, welcome back, Tom Herr.
The final score, 12-8, 48,000.
Outfielder, John Morris. Outfielder, Kurt Ford. Outfielder, Lance Johnson. And infielder, Rod Booker. Each bench player played a key role throughout the season, but maybe none more memorable than this one. Utility specialist, Tom Lawless. Let's welcome some of the group that provided excellent relief and locked down the bullpen. In 1987, Cardinals relievers won 36 games, which led the league. Please welcome back Ken Daly. Scott Terry. Dave LaPointe. Pat Perry. Rick Horton. And the closer, Todd Worrell. A terrific starting five defined by grittiness and toughness.
But he led the Giants in grounding into double play. That's why they put the hit and run on him.
Mitchell check with Fay.
And a pitch inside, and it got him. Leonard hit by the...
Welcome back, pitcher Greg Matthews. Only the second rookie ever to start a Game 7 of a World Series, Joe McGrain. And how about a big hand for Cardinals great John Tudor.
3-1 to Chili Davis. 2 out of the 9th, 6-0 St. Louis. High fly ball to shallow left. Vince Coleman, Minnesota bound.
And the pitcher that clinched Game 7 against the Giants, Danny Cox. The Cardinals as a team had the highest fielding percentage in the league. Please welcome a few of the big reasons why. Gold Glove, third baseman, Terry Pendleton. He was an '87 All-Star, Cardinals Hall of Famer, Willie McGee. And finally, he finished second in MVP voting, won a Gold Glove and a Silver Slugger, MLB Cardinals Hall of Famer, Ozzie Smith. How about a hand for your 1987 National League champions?
Village, it is poppin' and hoppin' tonight as we get you set for game number 2. Carlos Martinez gets the call for St. Louis. First 8 games at home, he was 4-1. The ERA well below 2. The last 3, it's been a struggle. First innings also been an issue for him. We'll see if that changes here this evening. Marcus Sims will go for the Atlanta Braves. Carlos Martinez for the St. Louis Cardinals. It's game number 2. It's a celebration of the 1987 National League Championship Club. Baseball is coming up. Ball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light, famous among friends. By Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest lasting, full-size pickups on the road. Find yours at your local Mid-America Chevy dealer. By Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all for less. Ceremonial first pitch. Moments ago, his teammates made him get all the way to the pitching rubber. And the Hall of Famer, Ozzie Smith, to Cardinals Hall of Famer, Willie McGee. It's a packed house, a beautiful night for baseball. The St. Louis Cardinals beginning 1 game back of Chicago. Milwaukee 3 out. Pittsburgh lost earlier today. They are currently 3.5 out. Cincinnati, of course, is 12 back out of the race. The Cubs in first place, just 1 ahead of St. Louis. And both St. Louis and Chicago 17-9 since the All-Star break. The second best record in baseball, only behind the Dodgers. What a difference a year makes. There's a lot of parity in the Central Division, but you look at the Central standings in 2016. The Cardinals were 5 games above 500, but yet 13 games back of Chicago. The Cardinals, they're 4 games above 500, and now just 1 back of the Cubs. The Cardinals lineup had a late scratch. Jed Jerko out with a sore knee, so he's out. And Greg Garcia will play third base tonight. Lineups have been exchanged. The umpires together at home plate. Yachty leads the charge, and away we go with some Saturday night baseball here at Busch Stadium. Carlos Martinez on the mound for St. Louis. Mentioned he has struggled a little bit here at home. On the season, a record of 8-9. Those struggles at home have just been recent. The home plate umpire is Sean Barber. The crew chief, Ted Barrett, he's at first base tonight. Longtime Major League umpire Angel Hernandez at second. And John Tumbane is down at third. A look at the Atlanta Braves lineup. Left-handed heavy, especially when you face Carlos Martinez. That could be a key. Ender Inciarte, the center fielder, leads it off. Brandon Phillips has shifted from second base to third, and he's at third base tonight. He'll bat second. Then Freddie Freeman, Nick Markakis, Kurt Suzuki, Matt Adams, Ozzie Albies, Dansby Swanson, and Lucas Sims. The Hyundai pitch arsenal for the hard-throwing right-hander Carlos Martinez. That fastball is averaging right around 95, 96 miles an hour. It's the slider that we talk about all the time. As right-handed batters, he gives them all kinds of fits. Lefties have hit Martinez much better this year. He's proven to be one of the top hitters, not just in the National League or with the Braves, but in all of baseball, and that's Ender Inciarte. First-time All-Star this season. And a very good leadoff man for the Atlanta Braves. And look who showed up. Rick Horton.
Happy to be here, Dan.
Great.
Oh, my goodness.
Celebration of the 87 team.
Thought it would be good, and it was great.
It's fun, huh?
Even more than I expected.
Well, nice to have you back up with us. So here's Ender Inciarte. And he looks at a strike, and we're underway. Here's the 0-1 pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike. Inciarte this season batting .296, 8 home runs, and he's driven in 40. Drops down the bunt. Yachty pounces on it, fires to first, and gets him. Inciarte dropped down a bunt last night for a base hit. This time Molina catches him, and there's one away.
Well, the bunt this time is a little bit too close to the Gold Glover, and Yachty pounces on it, gets rid of it quickly. Nice start for Carlos Martinez.
And it brings in Brandon Phillips, who's hitting .282, 8 home runs, and he's driven in 41. The 87 players have a suite with their families here tonight to enjoy the ball game. And I'm sure you had a chance to catch up with many of your former teammates earlier today and last night.
Been doing it all day today. They had a nice luncheon for us, and so good to see
popped up to the right side, and it drops for a foul ball.
You know, Dan, it's not just seeing the former teammates, and many of the teammates still live in St. Louis, so we see each other a lot, but the guys that have come in from out of town, but also their families, and that's what you get out of this game on the backside. Is it's not just the on the field stuff, although that's pretty magical too, but it's the relationships that you have with players and their families.
Looked like it was emotional during the ceremony.
Very much so. Every player talking about, he said the common phrase was, this never gets old. No matter how many times I do this, Dave LaPointe said that it's still special.
Phillips very much a free swinger. 3.47 pitches per plate appearance, 4th fewest in all of baseball. And the 1-2 pitch. Swinging away again. Cardinals defensively. Pham, Fowler, Grichuk in the outfield. Garcia, DeYoung, Wong, Carpenter on the infield, and Molina behind the plate. And around the horn is presented by Dobbs. The 1-2. Well, we mentioned that first innings can be an issue for Carlos Martinez. And so the Cardinals trying to figure out different ways to maybe get him right in those first innings.
Yeah, I spoke at length with Derek Lilliquist about this after Carlos had a couple of bad first innings.
That's up the middle and off the glove of Wong, and a base hit for Brandon Phillips.
And he said the adjustment that was made for his last start was they had more focus on fastball command at the beginning of the warm-up and at the end. And of course, you're going to throw your breaking pitches, your changeups, etc. But it was a high-level focus moment on fastball command, and that you wouldn't say that's a big change, but it's a change of focus that he felt Carlos needed, and the results were there.
That's not ruled an error. It's a base hit. The Cardinals defensively, and it coincides with them playing good baseball, 4 errors the last 19 games. That's the fewest in all of baseball. You play clean, gives you a chance to win. Here's Freddie Freeman. Our Toyota keys to the game, what Ricky was just talking about in those first inning runs.
First inning had been a problem, and you're still wary in the first inning that problem's not fixed, but he has been, once he gets going, he has been unhittable.
2 balls and no strikes.
And the fastball command matters because that fastball misses, he's 2-0. Now you get into a troublesome count, and if you're going to throw a breaking pitch here or a changeup here, you might not throw it as nasty off the corner, and you might get too much of the plate, and that's when the trouble starts.
Here's a 2-0. Freeman hit to the right side under the glove of Wong. Grichuk's throw to second, not cut off. It goes all the way to third. Runners at first and second with 1 out.
Testing the range of Colton Wong, and he's got really good range, but that's too far for him to come up with it. And Phillips thinking about testing the arm of Randal Grichuk. I think he made the right move not going.
Nick Markakis mentioned he's a doubles machine. He's hitting .278 this year, 6 home runs, and he's driven in 54. Cardinals need that ground ball and double play. That's what happened in the ball game last night with Adam Wainwright. Cardinals were able to turn 3 behind Adam. Wainwright did not have his best stuff, was dealing with some soreness. Jimmy will have a report on that, but still found a way to pick up the win in 5 innings. It was back on August 3rd that Markakis picked up hit number 2,000 of his career. There are 10 active players with 2,000 or more hits, and some with 3. Here's a 2-0. Down and in.
Being behind in the count is part of the reason that Freeman was able to sit on a pitch he could handle and drive it into right field, and Carlos back in that same problem again, and fastball command part of it. 3-0 against Markakis. Carlos has the ability with his late movement to get the ground ball that he needs, but he has to keep it down in the zone.
Here's a 3-0 pitch. Watch how Freeman takes a lead at first base. Makes you think you might be able to sneak in behind him after a pitch and maybe pick him off. His hips pointed towards left field, almost like a sprinter.
On your mark.
And there's ball 4. So the base is loaded here in the first inning. It brings in Kurt Suzuki. Inciarte grounded out to start this game with a bunt. And then you had Phillips, the infield hit, Freeman base hit to right, walk by Markakis, bases full of Braves. Suzuki's been around a long time. hitting .262, the 12 home runs, and he's driven in 33. The slider misses.
That's going to bring Yadi out to the mound, and I'm sure he's going to be talking about first pitch strikes and attacking the zone. You know, Carlos has to have a little mental moment here, and any pitcher would, where you look up at the scoreboard and you look out on the bases and you realize the bases are loaded, but you have to remind yourself 2 of them are ground balls. I mean, ground balls that just eluded long to his right and to his left. And you got to realize it's not as bad as it looks, and one good pitch and you're out of it.
And the 1-0. There's your ground ball, but it finds a hole. 1 run will score. Here comes Freddie Freeman. Throw to the plate. It is in time and safe. 2-0 Atlanta.
So the good news is Carlos is getting ground balls. The bad news is that they're finding holes. Suzuki hits one to the left side. Pham charges it hard. A good low throw and almost in time to get Freeman. I wondered if Yadi'd actually touched him on the way by. He thought he may have, but no review asked for on the Cardinals side.
It's the first time the Cardinals have trailed in any game against the Braves this year. 41 innings. And here is Matt Adams with runners at first and second. Big city. And he hits it out of play. Then looking at the replay, Rick, I'm not sure even if Freeman touched home plate until he went back and got it with his hand. Runners at first and second. And the 0-1. Shallow left, a Young going out, calling for it, makes the catch.
There's the slide, Dan, that you're talking about. Does he get the plate the first time through, or is he just on the inside of it? And I don't know that he does touch the plate. Yadi has the ball, but he's called safe. But you have to keep playing anyway. Even if he's called safe, if you're Yadi, he does the right thing. In case there's a review, you have to play continuation, which frankly is a little confusing for players at times, because he could have been called safe and ended up out.
Ozzie Albies looks at a strike, homered last night. Switch hitter. Matt Adams cooling off just a bit since the trade, and certainly in this month now 3 for his last 20. So 2 outs, 2 on, nothing and 2 the count. The base hit by Suzuki to score 2. And a swing and a miss and a strikeout. Long inning for Carlos Martinez. Cardinals trail 2-0. A celebration of the 1987 club. Good to see number 49 in uniform. few years ago for Atlanta, finishing up his warm-up tosses. And the Cardinals will feature once again at the top of the lineup Matt Carpenter. He has been red hot for St. Louis here recently. Then Tommy Pham and Paul DeJong. Dexter Fowler batting cleanup. Yadier Molina, Colton Wong, Randall Grichuk, Greg Garcia, and Carlos Martinez.
Who hasn't been red hot recently? And that's what's been fun about this, Dan. The offense has been good from top to bottom, and Cardinals will be facing a guy they haven't seen before, which, as we know, can go both ways. Pitcher not really sure about the batters and how they'll react to his pitches, but the hitters kind of have that issue of what does this mean? 46% fastball, slider, curve, change. What does it look like out of his hand? It's the Hyundai pitch arsenal, but the visual of it is a learning process for hitters.
He is 0-2. He was the 21st overall pick back in 2012. So I'm curious. You know, we talk about video so much in today's game and scouting reports and all the various ways to go about getting ready for a game. 1987, the middle of August. How would pitchers and hitters get ready for the next day or look to evaluate a starter's? Sims slips. Carpenter on his way to second base.
Well, I'll get to your question, but I think we need to enjoy this moment here. That was a good move by Carpenter. You talked about yesterday he had room on the left side. They were giving him the bunt, so he takes the bunt, and Sims makes it worse. Doesn't get a good footing, and it turns into a leadoff runner on second base. His reaction's good. It's all good until right about here. Just a bit outside.
And it brings in Tommy Pham.
So the way you get ready for a team in 1987 is you sit down with somebody who has a similarity to you on your team and talk about everybody on the other team's roster from a pitcher's point of view.
And Pham bunting. Why not? I think it's a smart move. A little shaky on the Carpenter bunt clearly, and gets the bunt down to advance the runner.
Well, I like doing it right after the error because there's some pressure, no question, as he's seen this before. And if Pham gets this more to the third base line or a little bit softer, he has himself a hit. And even the double clutch there and the low throw still could have gone even better for the Cardinals, but at least you have Carpenter at third.
That was Carpenter's third bunt hit of the year, and here's DeJong. So who was the guy you got with?
So Ken Daly and I, and he threw quite a bit harder than I did, but we were both left-handed. We would sit down and go through the entire Braves roster. We'd say, well, you know, tell me about Inciarte. How's he looked on the fastball in? And it was a conversation that would be before every series, sometimes before every game.
There's a wild pitch, but right back to Suzuki.
And you'd have updated information based on how has he looked. So it would be, how's he looked recently? Again, just a bit outside. What's he done in the career? How's he look on the off-speed pitches? And if you have to get him out, where are you going? That was the third question. That was the most important one. Where are you going to get him out? And so we'd share that information, and that was enough of a no video
Ever.
No.
Here's a 2-0 pitch. Up and in.
And relievers with that era would normally stay in the dugout for the first 3 innings and get your own visual on how hitters are reacting before you go to the bullpen.
Sure.
Instead of watching video, we watched it live.
Here's a 3-0. And that's ball 4. A rare walk for DeJong. The strikeouts have been up for balls we've seen, but he has produced 40 strikeouts since the break. Second most in baseball behind Aaron Judge.
Well, this has been part of the Cardinals' winning streak, is their resiliency and their ability to come back. And sometimes quickly, too. The other team gets 2, they get 2 right back.
There's just a feeling around this club, even if this was 7th or 8th inning, the game is not over with the way that this offense has been producing.
And I finally, Dan, believe it's at the point where that feeling will go past the next time the Cardinals lose. And you're going to lose some games, but I think they're so much in a better place right now. Even losing this game, they'll come back tomorrow and still feel as if they're going to win.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Cincinnati has already jumped out to a 2-0 lead against Milwaukee. The Brewers back to 500, 3 games out. First time at 500 since early May. Here's a 1-1. Well, this is a tight strike zone again. Well, Dexter Fowler, since coming off the DL, has reached base 15 times in the last 5 games. That is production.
With a lot of extra base hits as part of that.
The 2-1. Fowler, right side, base hit. Run scores. That's Carpenter.
So the Braves were finding holes in the top half of the inning, and Fowler does the same in the bottom half. Gets a curveball middle in, jammed him a bit, and DeYoung has to be careful about not getting hit by the ball, so he has to hold up, otherwise he'd have been able to go first to third.
Carpenter has now scored in 7 straight games. You want to tell everybody what it means?
Well, I couldn't say it yesterday.
Go ahead.
As I was told not to, but until it became public, and it's now public, it's just a sign of solidarity and togetherness. That's really what it is. It's being together as a team. One way or another, we're together, and I think that's really a pretty good definition of a team, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Well, it makes sense because after you broke down a pitching sequence the other day, I looked at you and I made that sign.
I thought you were telling me to stop talking.
No,
you were saying we're together.
We're together.
Okay, so we have our own sign up here. I like that.
We got a pregame handshake, a couple of dances that we do too.
We didn't have that sign in '87, but we were doing it.
Right, you were together. 0-2 the count on Yadier Molina. Runners at first and second. Molina hits it sharply towards second. Albies, Swanson, double play. 4-6-3. Dexter Fowler, the base hit to right to score Matt Carpenter. And after an inning of play, 2-1, Braves on top. his best stuff. More on that. Let's check in with Jim Hayes.
Yeah, Waino told me he felt a familiar tingling type sensation in the area behind his elbow while he was warming up for last night's start. Waino told me he's felt that sensation before, and when he's had trouble locating his fastball. So last night, Adam took something off all his pitches, relied on slow breaking stuff and really slow breaking stuff. Waino told me, I looked at Yadi on the way in from warming up and said, we're going to do it a little differently today. We're going to do some crazy stuff out there. Waino told me he's had that sensation in his elbow sporadically since 2014, and it just comes and goes. He said it's on the back of the elbow between the elbow and tricep, and it's not structural. He says it usually doesn't linger. But Dan, watching Adam do his thing with 59-mile-an-hour curveballs was pretty impressive last night.
Yeah, it was. Obviously not the best stuff. As you mentioned, the lowest recorded pitch in terms of velocity, 59, Ricky, last night.
Yeah, he was 8 to 10 miles an hour off on each one of his pitches, his fastball, his curveball, and not even sure I saw a cutter, and then that would be a pitch that probably wouldn't feel too good for his elbow. And I just thought it was miraculous and fun to watch him create. He's like, and the fact that what Jim said, it started out in the bullpen, he knew that it wasn't right, and he was going to have to create some new way to get people out, which he did.
Martinez, after the 2 runs allowed in the first inning, his ERA in the first inning now sits at 6.75. All other innings just over 3. In his last 5 starts, that's now 10 runs allowed in the first inning. You mentioned how they're trying to change what he does warming up. You've seen it before. What do you try to do? I mean, what are some other tricks of the trade?
Well, sometimes you can throw less between starts. Sometimes you can throw more between starts. If it's a matter of arm weariness, maybe you back off on some of your throwing. If it's just you don't have the right feel, then you just do more tossing 2 spots, and all the throwing has a meaning to it when you do your bullpen session or even just do work on flat ground. But there's a variety of ways to do it. Sometimes it's rest, sometimes you work harder, and it's not cut and dry what's the best way to do it. And that's where the pitching coach and the bullpen coach and the pitcher himself have to come together and try multiple things.
Ender Inciarte was announced as Encarnacion and then looked up back towards us. Inciarte with extra bases here potentially. Cut off by Pham. Great play by Tommy.
That's winning baseball is what that is from Tommy Pham. There's some will. There's understanding the situation. He knows right now that that's going to be a double unless he gets to it quickly and gets rid of it quickly. He does both. And the difference really between it being a double and a triple, let's say he misplays this, isn't as huge as him keeping the runner at first base at the moment.
Inciarte leads all of baseball in singles, 114. And it brings in Brandon Phillips.
Tommy Pham, a number of outfield assists, so Inciarte wasn't going to test that. In fact, he has 7 of them, but he's also only made 1 error in his career. Solid defender.
That's fouled back by Phillips. I think the next couple of weeks could be pretty interesting for the Atlanta Braves. Clearly out of the race with some veterans with value, and if those veterans clear waivers or a team claims them, you know, trying to work out a trade with that team potentially, and Phillips would be one of those players. Albies is now here. He's the future at second base. Reports tonight that Neil Walker is headed to Milwaukee in a trade with the Brewers and Mets.
People are confused about this every year about this time because the common thing I hear is, wait a minute, the trading deadline is over. And we make a lot of we make a big deal out of the trading deadline because you can trade without any limitations up till the trading deadline, and trading just can still happen after. It's just more difficult.
Up the middle, DeYoung to Carpenter. Braves strand a runner midway through 2. Cardinals have Wong, Bridget, Garcia coming up. And is coming up Friday, August 25th. That day, 30,000 fans 16 and older will be surprised at the gates when they find out which mystery Cardinals Hall of Fame manager bobblehead they receive. Visit cardinals.com/promotions for tickets. And a strike to Colton Wong. So the Cardinals have won 7 straight, and in 5 of those games they've been trailing and have come back to win. We'll see if that holds true tonight. Wong jumps on the pitch that's up and pulled it just foul. It's always interesting when you look at the different numbers in the sport, but for whatever reason, Colton Wong, when he leads off an inning, is hitting .383, and that's 3rd best in all of baseball.
We made some overtures during the offseason about maybe being a potential leadoff hitter for this Cardinal lineup.
And that's why I bring it up.
There was some time before the Cardinals had actually even signed Dexter Fowler that Colton, I don't want to say was auditioning for it, but feels like he could be that guy. And I don't doubt that he could be that guy at some point.
Little fly ball out to shallow left. Adams makes the catch. And here's Randall Grichuk.
Interesting point about Randall Grichuk. This is batting average on balls in play. Grichuk against the MLB average, and the ground ball average is .336, quite a bit better than the major league average, and he's about the same or below as far as line drives and fly balls. The point being that when he hits the ball on the ground, he hits it hard and gets hits. And with all the talk about launch angle, Grichuk has the ability to hit the ball hard through the infield, or at least he's shown that.
Here's the 0-1. And the 0-2. Taken high, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Viva Alberto's. That's a website. Go to some great Cardinal content, information, and stories. And those folks are having their special night at the ballpark tonight. Here's a 1-2. Hit out of play.
Part of the '87 special weekend that we're having. I had a chance to, a couple of the guys that were in the clubhouse, introduce Jose Martinez to two guys who played with his dad and that he'd never met. And they had a chance to talk about some Carlos Martinez stories, both Lance Johnson and Dave LaPointe.
Drive into deep right center. This may go. Home run. Randall Grichuk. And we're tied at 2.
So another thing about Randall Grichuk, when he hits the ball over the wall, he's batting 1,000. And he did it on a 1-2 count, and we've seen an increase in Grichuk's ability to make hard contact late in counts.
Grichuk now with 36 extra base hits, 35 singles. Here's Greg Garcia. Albies going out to make the catch. And there's 2 outs. Defense for the Atlanta Braves. Adams, Inciarte, Markakis in the outfield. Phillips, Swanson, Albies, Freeman on the infield. Suzuki behind the plate. Around the Horn is presented by Dobbs. And who were those players that played with Jose's dad? Do you remember?
Yeah, well, Lance Johnson and Dave LaPointe. The 3 of us actually were teammates with Carlos Martinez in 1988, and able to talk about some of the other teammates that Jose remembered and knew that his dad had talked about, played with, Ivan Calderon, some others, some players from Venezuela that were on that team. And so it's just nice to have that connection and for those guys to meet each other.
Jose was actually a bat boy at different points and times in his dad's major league career. So he may have been a bat boy at a time that you were, pitching in a game.
May have been.
We're tied 2-2. Did not go. Mentioned that the Cubs will play a little bit later tonight. They've lost 6 of their last 9. And now talk is that Wilson Contreras could miss a month with his injury. John Lester against Patrick Corbin tonight. The 1-2. We're going to visit with Joe McGrain coming up next inning. And a swing and a miss by Martinez. Home run by Randall Grichuk, number 15. RBI number 44. One swing of the bat. And we're tied. It's 2-2. Championship Club, and he joins us here in the broadcast booth. Now you're doing a little work with MLB Network, longtime broadcaster with Tampa Bay, and now back here in St. Louis. Great to see you.
It's great to be here, and it's great to be back with my old teammate Rick Horton. It's nice to be around intelligence. Rick schooled me and taught me the way of how to be a big leaguer. And
tell the truth.
Coming from the Harvard of the West, he is a well-educated man out of
we hear
Virginia.
about it all the time.
And,
he didn't even have to. Are you serious?
Joe didn't really need much schooling, I must say. I mean, Joe came to the big leagues not only sharp in terms of understanding how to handle things, but he was ready to pitch in the big leagues. I mean, that rookie year you had, Joe, you were lights out. I mean, when we see Carlos Martinez, Dan, for example, late sink, that was Joe McGrain.
Yeah, late sink, and I'm worried that I'm going to be able to duplicate his hair color. Now, what are we calling that? Is that like magenta or?
We're trying to stay away from it, actually.
Okay,
Joe.
all right.
Yeah, thanks a lot,
Is
Joe.
it a sore subject?
Great seeing you.
All right.
Enjoy the night.
Where'd all this security come from?
Tell me about the story, and tell our listeners about the story and our viewers that Whitey Herzog, when he came out to visit with you about using your defense.
Yeah, so, Ricky was talking about having a late sink, but I still like to mix in a cut fastball, and Ricky will understand this because he had a great moving fastball as well. But every now and again, I like to throw a cut fastball, and because pitcher's ego breaking a bat, whether it's like Mike Schmidt or big right-hander Gary Carter or someone like that. But every now and again, the wandering mind of a left-hander would throw that to somebody at the bottom part of the order when you shouldn't do it, and end up rubbing up a new one because it would be over there at the Millennium Stofers or whatever the name of the hotel is. Not here to plug anything that's not my nature. Whitey comes out in the fourth inning, and he said, that cut fastball, take that and stick it where, and he said, you got a Hall of Famer at shortstop. Yeah, and you've got Terry Pendleton over at third base. Throw the ball down and away, and let's get this game over in 2 hours. And he didn't have to tell me that twice.
Well, and Joe, that was probably the biggest lesson for us to learn at the big league level is just how good. You think back on those teams in the 80s, just how good that defense was.
It was incredible, and from that educational part from Whitey, or whether it was our pitching coach Mike Rourke, why would you ever nibble, and why would you ever work around the periphery of the strike zone? It's so beneficial for you. Take the hitter out, first pitch strikes, 1-1 counts, get back into the zone, and use the best defense in the league. That's one thing that we could do is steal bases. Jack Clark hit home runs, and we could all, as a group, catch the ball. So if we were doing a disservice if we weren't throwing the ball over the plate.
Did you have a favorite moment from 1987? One that stands out for you, whether it's personal or team related?
Well, kind of a personal highlight was having the thrill of being able to start Game 7 as a rookie. But my favorite moment was a couple of weeks before the end of the season. We were reeling, and the Expos and the Mets were on our tail, and Roger McDowell with the Mets was just absolutely owning every one of us. And if we had lost this game, I don't think we would have made it to the postseason. But Terry Pendleton who's here tonight, is going up and down the dugout. Guys, you have to move up in the box. This guy's sinker, you got to catch it before it sinks. And he moved up in the box a foot, and remember hit that home run and right in the Big Apple at Old Shea Stadium. And what was unique about that is it wasn't a walk-off or anything, obviously, but it was in like the 7th or 8th inning. We all came out of the dugout and met TP at home plate because it was such an incredible defining moment in the season, because we were really reeling, and we won that game, and I thought that was the turning point that projected us forward.
Great to have you back.
Great. What's the gift?
We'll mail it to you, Joe.
Okay. Thank you.
You look great, by the way.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you guys.
Cardinals reeling. It dropped 6 of 8. And then this home run, Shea Stadium shocked. Terry Pendleton would tie it in the 9th. And as Joe McGrain would tell you, all the players came out to greet Terry Pendleton with that dramatic home run. And the Cardinals would win that ball game in the 10th. What a moment.
And that was September 11th. That Terry said every time he goes back to New York, there is still multiple people that will remind him of that home run. They remember it 30 years later. The city of New York does, because it was not only profound for the Cardinals, but it was devastating for the Mets. I mean, they just, when you lose a tough game like that, it's tough to recover.
They had Doc Gooden going the next day, and you guys jumped out on Doc with a 5-0 lead and won that game. So it took the wind out of their sails, propelled you guys to postseason play in that great rivalry of the Mets and Cardinals. Hit down the left field line off the bat of Carpenter. Funny story that Terry Pendleton told me today. I had never heard this from anywhere, and I've talked to Terry multiple times. And he said the funny thing that not many people know about that at bat was that I'm at the on-deck circle in Shea, and there's a young fan that rolls up what seems to be a scorecard into a ball, hits him in the back as he's trying to concentrate on Roger McDowell, and as Joe McGrain said, he was going to move up in the box, which he did because of the sinker. Terry comes around, and the Mets bat boy who was working for the Cardinals that night went up to Terry very calmly and said, I knew you were going to hit a home run. He said, how could you possibly know I'm going to hit a home run? He said the week before, that same kid balled up a piece of paper and threw it at Keith Moreland's head, hit him, and he hit a home run. So I knew you were going to hit that home run.
You think the kid would stop doing that?
Right. He's a Mets fan.
So maybe New York should be mad at that kid, not at Terry Pendleton.
I asked Terry, I said, did you go find the kid? He said, I actually did try to go find him and bring him back. What a great moment in Cardinals history. Two strikes on Carpenter.
And that was a time, Dan, where the Mets and the Cardinals had a tremendous rivalry. The Mets won the World Series in '86, and in the midst of the two National League championships, the Cardinals won in '85 and '87. So they're two very good teams, and the Cardinals were in the East Division at the time. I know for young fans, they might not understand why that would be such a rivalry, but more so than the Cubs, from the players' point of view in the '80s, the Mets were the team to beat.
And from the fans' point of view, it was the Mets.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you.
You know.
Oh, yeah. The hated Mets. The 2-2 pitch. Carpenter reaching for it. The changeup lifted out to center. And Matt is 1 for 2 tonight.
I would say I liked the Mets players individually, and I didn't like them collectively.
What about Darryl Strawberry?
Oh, I love Darryl Strawberry.
And you probably had to face him umpteen
many
times in the minor leagues.
Many times.
You know, that's something that we forget, is that Port St. Lucie and where you guys were training St. Pete, you would see each other.
Well, they were actually in St. Pete at
for
that
a long time.
Yeah, for a long time, even prior to that. So yes, there's no question that rivalry would start spring training.
Yeah.
There's Ken Daly and Kurt Ford.
Tommy Pham with a high fly ball lifted into center. Enciarte with room and makes the catch. Arcia in the driver's seat. It's Paul DeJong. Since he was called up, the rookie ranks. This is back on May 28th. The home run, slugging percentage, total bases. Kia in the driver's seat. Judge and Bellinger just ahead of Paul DeJong.
And you say, well, maybe it would have been nice if DeJong would have been up earlier, but I think you could make the case that he wasn't ready, and you can make the case that he hadn't played shortstop enough. He just started playing shortstop professionally in the fall. So this is a new deal for him.
Darryl Strawberry, by the way, 12 for 42 off of Rick Horton.
2 home runs.
I didn't want to mention it, but it was written here.
I could tell you. I could tell you the pitch and the count.
Here's a base hit into center. Longtime equipment manager of the Cardinals, ran the clubhouse, and such a gentleman. I gave him a big hug today, and that's Buddy Bates.
And I'm sure he's telling some John Tudor stories to his wife Gail at the moment. And Buddy and I were able to reminisce about a story my rookie year. I'd had one of the powder blue jerseys that, oh, that's enough, Gail. The powder blue jerseys in '84, and mine was faded. So I went to Buddy Bates and I said, "Do you think I could get a new jersey, a nice, maybe a newer one?" And he proceeded to stand in the middle of the clubhouse and tell all the veterans that the rookie guy, had asked for a new jersey.
Let's just say you probably didn't ask again.
I didn't. I don't think I talked again my rookie season. I think I was done. But he did get me the jersey, but I had to pay the price.
That's great. Here's the 0-1 pitch to Fowler. RBI single, first time up. And now a base hit to left field. DeYoung racing to third. Fowler on his way to second base. Dexter 2 for 2, and he is red hot. And it brings in Yadier Molina.
Just takes it the other way. So he's got a hit to right and a hit to left. All smiles. Dexter Fowler. Pretty much who he is anyway.
So 2 outs and 2 on. And Molina serves it into deep right center field. Inciarte on the move, and he has it. Nice play. Yadi gave it a ride. We played 3 here at Busch Stadium. A night we celebrate the '87 champs. It's 2-2. Adams to lead it off. More on Matt. Let's check in with Jim.
As ovations for former Cardinals go, the one Matt Adams got last night, pretty impressive. Adams told me it was longer and louder than I could have expected. I'll always appreciate Cardinal fans for the way they treated me. Adams says it was emotional. He says at one point Yadi put his arm around him and said, "I miss you." Now Adams wasn't sure what it would be like facing Adam Wainwright, but Waino told me he did give Adams a little hat tip, but he wanted to be clear, just a hat tip, no smile. And then later Waino admitted that when Adams ran by the mound, he told Adams that he loved him. And Matt Adams was a very popular Cardinal, Dan. A little disappointed that you, sir, have yet to stop by and say hello.
I know he said something to you. I meant to get down there. I was busy with the '87 guys, man. Take me off the hook.
I told him that, Danny.
I'll see him tomorrow. One of my favorites ever.
I was busy with the '87 guys, and I went down to see Matt Adams, but I don't want to jump into your argument, but here's what we're talking about. And this is Yadi This is the hug at home plate, and you're competing. Of course you're going to do that, but I think recognizing that that's a special moment, an emotional moment, as Jim said, I think that was really nice here last night.
Well, Martinez allowed 4 of 5 in the first inning to reach. And since then, he's retired 9 of the last 10. So here we go again.
Locked in.
Yep.
Slow start, locked in.
And a grounder that's pulled foul. Different ways to hold the bat. Some guys all the way down on the knob, some even off the knob. And that's the way that Albies holds the bat.
Not unusual to see a player with his pinky off, but he almost has
exactly
2 fingers off the end of the bat.
That's off of Martinez. Garcia bare hands to first, and the ball gets away. But no damage done. Hopefully Carlos is fine.
Carlos reached out with his foot to knock that down. It was going into center field, and he thought, well, maybe something good will happen if I stick the foot out, and it hits the bottom of his shoe. That I wouldn't think that would be too problematic. He calls for Garcia to make the play. I'm not so sure that Albies wouldn't have been able to make it to second if he'd have taken off.
Surprised he's not at second. I'm with you. Here's Dansby Swanson. Big happy birthday to Mary Kate Stevens. She's 13, never misses a game, and now she's a teenager. Mary Kate, be nice to mom and dad. And happy birthday. And for the Stevens mom and dad, Godspeed.
That's good advice all the way around, Dan.
And that pitch taken low. We hope to visit with Willie McGee tonight, maybe even a Tom Lawless sighting. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Swanson, double play ball. Garcia to second. The turn. Double play. He made bat flips cool before they were ever cool. Tom Lawless. There he is. Ball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by your local St. Louis area Volkswagen dealers. Visit VWDealer.com. and by Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all for less.
Kim Herr, Jill Daly catching up. You know, you think about how much time wives spend together. We talk about the husbands doing it, but the wives are at the ballpark every day.
The second time that Wong in this series has been hit by a pitch.
He's had the target on him lately.
Yes, he has.
A lot of breaking balls down and in. I think pitchers are just thinking maybe that's the way to get him out, and they're just overcooking some of those off-speed pitches, and it's been hit quite a few times.
There's Grichuk, who homered his first time up. Most of the players have come back for the '87 reunion. This is back in the second inning, and those players that are here saw this.
He barreled it up, got out in a hurry. Grichuk, one of many Cardinals with between 10 and 15 home runs, 10 and 16 home runs. The balance of power really defining the team at the moment.
There's a 1-0 pitch. To even further the case of Kolten Wong maybe being a leadoff man. When he leads off an inning, his on-base percentage now .441 as he was hit by that pitch. Here's a 1-1. Kubota Power Stats most runs scored since August 6th. St. Louis with 60. Big crowd here tonight. The weather has been absolutely perfect here in St. Louis.
Are we still sure it's August?
It's weird. Liner, and it's off the glove of the third baseman Phillips to the sidewall. Grichuk to second base, and Wong goes over to third.
And that's the second example we've had in 2 days where a fan has been smart enough not to touch a ball that's in play. It could have cost the Cardinals a base yesterday. It could have cost them a base today. Not an easy play, but a catchable ball. And as it goes towards the wall, the fans just leave it alone. Rather have a guy on second and third than have the baseball.
The Cardinals in the month of August, 74 runs, and that's the most in baseball. It's another extra base hit for Randal Grichuk. Now 6 of his last 8 hits have gone for extra bases, and that's the allure of Randal Grichuk.
You suffer through the strikeouts because you know that that's the potential. I'll tell you another thing I like about Randal is defense, especially in right field. I think he's a plus defender in right, and he's good on the base pass too. I think he's good. He's a good base runner.
Missed, 3-0. The hit speed or the exit velocity 102 off the bat of Randal Grichuk. The 3-0 pitch now to Garcia. Swinging away on 3-0. Why not?
You'd say, well, and people may question why would you, and the answer is the pitcher's up next, and they're being a little careful with him anyway. First base open, even though he's the 8th place hitter, and 3-0.
That's why I like it.
The infield's back.
Yeah.
I like it too.
Here's a 3-1 pitch. Hits it to the right side. The run will score. Albies flips to first, and Freeman, and the Cardinals have their first lead of the night. And it's 3-2 St. Louis.
That's the fun thing about this game of baseball. Sometimes a ground out to second base becomes an important part of a baseball game, and understanding the situation, and that's what Garcia did. He just got the ball in play. Not only did he get the run in, but he gets Grichuk to third.
And the infield is drawn in here for Carlos Martinez. Carlos has driven in 8. Pretty amazing run that the pitching staff is on in terms of helping their own cause. The Cardinals, their pitchers with 25 RBIs. That's the most in baseball. Wainwright leading that charge. He had another RBI last night. He has 11, and then Martinez with his 8. Here's a 1-0. 2 balls and no strikes. Drops to a knee. It's an Adrian Beltre swing without the Adrian Beltre result.
Well, he's about 2,970 hits behind him, something like that. But he can hit. Carlos originally signed as an infielder, and he's comfortable at the plate.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. Up the middle, base hit. Grichuk scores, and it's now 4-2 St. Louis.
And 1 hit closer to Adrian Beltre.
Rick, you always look for the positives.
I try to, Dan. Nicely done, too. He hits the ball hard. Pitcher tries to wave it down. Adam Wainwright, do you approve? Say yes.
So who's at the 87 reunion that you just couldn't wait to catch up with?
Well, the 2 guys that I was really excited to see were Lance Johnson and Rod Booker, because those are 2 guys I haven't seen in a long time. Spent a lot of time with both of them, and Rod Booker told me a funny story. In fact, Lance and I were traded together for Jose De Leon to the White Sox. But Rod reminded me of a story. He said Whitey Herzog told him that as an extra player, you've got to go catch some of the relievers in the bullpen. And so he was an infielder, but part of his job was to go be a bullpen catcher.
Is that right?
Before there were bullpen catchers. And he told the story of the first time after being in the Cardinals dugout, and everybody was so serious about what they were doing and the strategy on what they were doing with the pitcher. He realized, I'm going to the bullpen, and now I'm going to get into their strategy world.
There's a hit by pitch,
and I'm going to be a little uncomfortable in the tension of the moment being in the bullpen. And Rod said he comes out to the bullpen and he realizes that all of us are playing Jeopardy in the bullpen. He said, what have I gotten myself into? I'm coming down here to talk about strategy of the game, and we literally were playing Jeopardy. Bill Dawley was out, Alan Ludden that entire year.
Yeah.
And we played Jeopardy in the bullpen.
And the bullpens, for our younger fans especially, they were down the lines at Old Busch Stadium. They weren't what you see now. So he just hop out of the dugout and go ahead and do that.
And run down and catch a reliever, but we were a little looser than he thought, I guess is the point he was trying to make.
You guys weren't as locked in.
No. Until the phone rang. And Dave Ricketts would answer the phone, and the late Dave Ricketts, who we admired. Yadier Molina credits Dave Ricketts with teaching him how to be a catcher. And it was nice that the Cardinals had his widow Barbara as part of the ceremony today. Always good to see her.
Base hit into center field. Carlos Martinez racing to the plate. He is safe. And it's 5-2 St. Louis. How about the speed of Carlos Martinez?
Pham gets an 0-2 count and a hanger on an 0-2 count. Drives it up the middle. And there's the speed of Carlos. You can see it already. He's past third and flying home. And he reads it well. He's off quickly. So he helped himself with the bat. Now he helps himself with his legs.
There's DeYoung, and speaking of bullpens, Max Fried is getting loose in the Atlanta pen. Runners at first and second. Just to finish the thought about the bullpen of '87, the underlying theme with those I visited with today, your former teammates and bullpen guys, was that everybody tried to manage along with Whitey. They all had a pretty good idea of what the role was, and they understood if you're getting up, you knew you were going to face X. And it was just so defined, and they said, all of them, how Whitey managed a clubhouse and managed a game was incredible.
Yeah, the communication was extraordinary. You're up for Strawberry, and you'll face him if there's less than 2 outs. I mean, that specific an understanding, so you could have your getting loose go according to that situation. You could watch what's going on, and you could control that. You wouldn't overthrow if you didn't need to. And that was a time where there were only 5 relievers in the bullpen, not 8.
When we hope to visit with Tom Lawless, he'll tell us about that famous home run and the bat flip. A bat that I found out today he still owns, and it has 1 hit in it. That home run. You didn't even know that. You've been to his house countless times.
I've played golf with him, been to his house, helped marry his daughter, for goodness sakes, and he didn't tell me that. Why was he holding that back?
Said it's got 1 mark on it. That's the home run off of Frank Viola, the World Series of 1987. Here's a 2-2. Three and 2 the count. It's now a 5-2 St. Louis lead. 8 hits already for the Cardinals. And a swing and a miss on the fastball. The second strikeout for Lucas Sims.
And I would guess this is his last inning. He's due to lead off the next inning. And the Cardinals do it again, Dan, putting a crooked number up. This is something they've done a lot lately. They've found ways to keep the line moving.
It's the 13th consecutive game that DeYoung has struck out in, but when he gets his hits, they've been at the right times here lately. 8th man to come to the plate here in the 4th inning for the Cardinals, and it's Dexter Fowler. Here's a single, a double, an RBI back in inning number 1. Fill up with 8 gallons or more. Receive up to 50% off on a pair of Cardinal tickets. Cardinals.com/Phillips66. It's a ball and a strike. Big gap in left center. And the 1-1. Now 1 and 2. So since he got off the disabled list, he has been to the plate 26 times. Dexter Fowler. He has reached base 16 times. Giving this club a lift. Here's a 1-2 pitch. In on his hands and fouled back. And as you pointed out last night, didn't go on a rehab assignment. So he wasn't seeing live pitching.
And missed a couple of batting practices because they were rained out. So he planned to get work on the field, both offensively and defensively, and it couldn't happen because the tarp was down on our last road trip. So they just threw him into the fire, and he's hot.
Here's a 1-2. Spoiled. Cardinals trying to make a little history here tonight if they can get to 8 runs and have it be 7 consecutive games with 8 or more runs in those contests. The Cardinals front office kept saying, we're sticking with this team. And at many points in times, I'm sure they thought, well, we got to do something. We got to go out and make a change, trade somebody. But they stuck with this team, and so far, that move is paying off.
And there's no question it is, including keeping Lance Lynn.
Absolutely. 3-2.
So not only did they stick with the team and not get anybody else, they also didn't get rid of anybody that they might wish they hadn't. And Lynn's certainly that guy, and that was not necessarily a popular move at the time by the Cardinals front office. And the people wanted something different.
8th pitch of this at bat to Fowler. Runners will go, and a strikeout. 34 pitches in the inning, but a big inning for St. Louis. Carlos Martinez, the RBI. Tommy Pham right back up the middle again to drive him in. 5-2 St. Louis. Well, moment that none of us will forget if you're a Cardinal fan. Tom Lawless and his bat flip and home run against the Twins. You knew it was gone all the whole time.
As soon
right?
as it left the bat, it was a home run.
No big deal, right?
No, well, it was only 42 degrees outside, so I was a little worried about the temperature.
Maybe knocking it down a bit. We were all worried that maybe you were going to embarrass yourself because you were flipping it and it might not go out. But
hey,
what a moment, though.
Worst thing that could happen was a sac fly.
That's right. Well, you enjoying yourself? Has it been fun?
Oh, it's been a fun weekend. It's been fun seeing all the old boys that came into town and all the guys that we have here. So it's just a fun time to be around everybody.
Have you ever seen this before? Let's take a look at it. Remember who the pitcher was?
Frank Viola.
Of course you do.
2-0 fastball. I finally let him swing at the 2 changeups he threw before that. Finally.
And you told me today Jack Clark was the one that advised you to do that.
Yes, he did.
So he said take the first 2.
Take the first 2 because they'll probably be balls. And he was right. That's why Jack was such a good hitter, I guess.
And Ricky, you said to Tom before he got in here, you got a bone to pick.
Yeah, I do, Tom. I just found out from Dan today the story that you have that bat from that moment.
Yes.
And you only used it for that at bat,
yes.
and then you took it out and you've got it at home.
Yes.
Why did you never tell me that?
You never asked.
Oh.
Dan asked.
Well, that's pretty simple, I guess.
Yeah. Nice job, Ricky.
I thought we were tighter than that, but apparently not.
I have the ball, too.
You do?
Yes.
Now, how did you get the ball?
We hit the wall, came back in.
So it came back in.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It hit one of them pillars out there in left field, came back in.
Like about
back in.
a foot over the wall.
A foot and a half. I think you're right.
So are you the original bat flip guy?
No. Reggie Jackson had to do it before I did, didn't
Not
he?
like that, though.
Well, not like that. No, not like that.
And in that moment.
In that moment.
And in that moment, right. It was, don't have any idea why I did it. It just happened.
And I guarantee everybody in St. Louis says, I was at that game.
Everybody. Everybody. I was sitting in left field. I was sitting in right field. I'm sitting right over the wall. I think I've heard all of them.
Yeah. Tom, I want to ask you about Whitey Herzog. You had a chance to manage at the big league level, coach for years and years and years, and we've had some other coaches come from that team. But how about Whitey's influence on you?
No more. There's no bigger influence. I mean, the way Whitey treated everybody on that ball club for all those years that we were here, the communication skills that he had, treating everybody the same way. It didn't matter if you were the start on the team or the 25th guy on the team, he treated you the same. And to me, when you can communicate and make everybody comfortable in that clubhouse like he did, you're going to get the best out of everybody that you have. And that's what Whitey did. And that's what I've tried to do with all the kids that I've taught in the minor leagues and eventually had that chance in the big leagues to do it, is just make them as comfortable as they can be in that atmosphere, because playing out there is hard. There's no doubt about it. It's hard. And if they got any kind of pressure on themselves, or they're tight about something, or something's happening in the clubhouse, you're not going to get the best performance out of them.
So I think about that influence, Dan, for Tom, that he managed a couple of guys named Altuve and Pujols,
Yep.
among others.
Well,
Do you know Albert was going to be this good?
I knew he was going to be good from the time I had him for those 3.5 months, but I didn't know he was going to be that good.
It's ridiculous.
The years that he put up at this stadium right here is unbelievable.
That is well hit out to deep left field. Racing after it, Pham, and it is gone. It's a home run.
But
Brandon Phillips.
But as good as Albert was, Altuve is just phenomenal. That little kid is phenomenal.
Flat out hit.
Oh, unbelievable.
What keeps you busy these days? Because you have been involved in pro ball for so many years, but this year you're on the outside for a while.
Just taking it easy, playing a little golf.
Yeah.
Play a little golf, do a little functions there down at the ballpark with Scott Terry and the Alumni Association. But I miss it.
Do you?
But it's good to get away every now and then, just to take a breath of fresh air and just sit back and relax. And I'm enjoying it.
Were you able as a player, and we talked about it earlier because the infield was stacked with the Cardinals back then, were you as a player able to go up to Whitey after a game and say, hey, Rat, why did you do that? What were you thinking in this situation to help you become a manager? Those kind of things.
Not really. Maybe the next day would.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Maybe the next day I'd ask him why you did that. And we had so many good players on that team, and we had so many good baseball people on that team, that you could sit in the dugout and talk to anybody you wanted to, and you try to think along with Whitey. And then you look over to the other side, and you see the other guy scrambling over there, and you figure, what the heck? How can we lose?
Right.
We can't lose. We got Whitey. Whitey's four innings ahead of this guy. And to be that good, it was just phenomenal.
You still do a lot of scouting when you're at the ballpark, and you've got a lot of friends you haven't seen for a while, but as you watch a game, do you still watch it with a coach's eye?
I do. I try to figure out what's going on, and I try to think along with the managers and see who we got in the bullpen and how we're gonna figure it out and how we're gonna make it work. You know, the strategy to me has gone a little bit in the game. You know, as when we played, you know, there was a lot more strategy in the game because we bunted more and we had hit and runs and we had action. You know, and the action is kind of slowed down in the game.
Well, I was going to ask you that because the home runs are up, but the strikeouts are way up.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
I think that has a lot to do with the analytics departments that everybody has now, and the way that the kids are taught to hit. They're taught to hit the swing up a little bit. You know, we were always taught to swing down and hit line drives and hard ground balls. But if you look at baseball today, the single is of no value anymore. It's more the double, the triple, the home run. So that's why you see so many strikeouts. And that's why the games drag on a lot, you know, because pitchers are throwing way too many pitches in the game. And you can't, you know, every count's 3-2, 3-1, and you're striking out 15 times a game. And that's what I say. The strategy of the game is gone to me right now. It'll come back. Everything cycles.
Yeah.
Everything cycles around, and you'll see it again. I mean, look at Carpenter now. He dropped the bunt down. They scored a run.
One thing that hasn't changed is defense, the importance of defense. And you were an outstanding defender, Tom. And of course, you saw a lot of other great defensive players play around you.
Well, that's what kept me in the big leagues, being able to play defense. Whitey could put me out there in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning and know that it was going to work. And to me, I've done that for the last 25 years, is taught kids how to play defense. To me, if you have pitching and defense, you're going to win a lot of ball games. I mean, because when you get into the playoffs and you have to face the 1, 2, 3 starter, you're not going to score 8, 9 runs.
It's low scoring and it's mistake free.
It's exactly right. If your defense is not very good and you make the mistakes, you're going to lose. And I mean, you look at the teams that Ricky and I played with in the 80s, our defense was phenomenal. You know, Ricky threw the ball over the plate. We caught it. You know, he didn't have to get the 3 balls.
Have I thanked you for that yet? Thank you.
But that's the difference. I mean, you look at John Tudor and Danny Cox and you and Kenny and all the guys, throw the ball over the plate. Somebody out there is going to catch the baseball. And we took pride in our defense, and we took pride in going back to the strikeouts. We didn't want to strike out. We thought strikeouts were bad when we were taught that. But now the strikeout is just another out.
How many pictures have you signed of the bat flip and that home run?
A whole lot. A whole lot. But that's good. That is always good.
And come to think of it, I don't think I have one in my house either. So I'm really feeling a little shortchanged here, Danny. Maybe I'll get you one. You and me.
I can get both of you one.
Nice.
I can get both of you.
Well, I got my golf tournament coming up. I need one. So I'm asking right now. And I want one personalized, too.
I can do that.
Thank you.
I can do that.
Be nice on the inscription, though, will you please? I know you too well. They said, and Ricky, you could probably confirm it, that he may have been one of the bigger pranksters on that team.
Well, what he was is he was the best, let's just say, talker against the other team. I'm not sure what you want to call that, but he was the bench jockey. That was one phrase for it. But Tommy could get right on that last nerve of the opponent. and we used to be your opponent when he was with the Cincinnati Reds.
Right. Yep.
We all did not like Tom Lawless. and we knew who he was. We could hear him chirping in the dugout. And guys don't do that now, but that was an art form, and this was the master artist, Tom Lawless.
Absolutely.
Well, that was part of being at the ballpark and having fun for me. That was the fun part about it. It wasn't derogatory to anybody else, but it was at the ballpark in the game, you know, and just jawing back and forth with the other team just to get going and have some fun. And to me, that's what's, you know, a lot of that is missing in the game today. The fun part of the game is missing.
2-2 pitch and a ground ball that's hit to the right side. The home run hit by Brandon Phillips. And a home run that was hit in 1987 that none of us will ever forget. Tom Lawless.
Oh, there it is again. I hit another one.
Of course you knew it. No big deal.
Good to have you with us, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. And here is Yadier Molina, 5-3 our score. You know who I really miss seeing at the ballpark, and I know it's the 1987 reunion, but we got other reunions coming up. I miss him a lot.
Who's that?
One of my all-time favorites. And I just got a text from him. Chris Carpenter.
That's great.
He was commenting on our visit with Tom Lawless, and he said one of the other reasons that you're seeing longer games and the home runs up, he said no one wants to pitch inside. You just don't see guys pitching inside, and they get way too comfortable in the box, and there's a lot of truth to that too.
Well, that was part of what you would have called pitching, is making people uncomfortable. That was your job to do that, and Chris Carpenter was really good at doing that. I would have loved to have played with Chris Carpenter.
Oh.
It's one of my favorite things about the fantasy camp. You know, the campers love it. They love the experience, but all of a sudden I'm out there on the field and I'm on the team with Rick Ankiel or with Chris Carpenter, and it's fun for us too to have this mix of generations. We had the same general experience together, or of being big leaguers, but not together. But that kind of connects us over decades. It really is pretty fun for us.
Every fifth day when Chris Carpenter pitched, it was, you know what? You stopped and you watched, because something spectacular may happen. And you knew he was going to give you everything that he had in his body, and everybody that came to the ballpark got their money's worth.
And Danny Cox was like that.
Exactly.
Those two had the same mentality, different kinds of pitchers. Chris's stuff was more electric than Danny. Danny had a really good slider, good changeup, and really a solid pitcher and big winner for us, and the heart and soul in many ways of our team too. But he and Chris Carpenter remind me of each other.
And both were great teammates. A lot of respect, leaders,
and courage.
Danny Cox closed out the NLCS. Game 7 went the distance against the Giants, and he was telling me today as Wong looks at a ball, he said, I started thinking about Game 7 midway through Game 6, and he said my juices were flowing. He said I knew it's coming to me, and I'm shutting them down. And you know what, it takes, even at this level, the biggest stage, there are some guys that want the ball, and there's others that don't.
There's some that want others to have the ball.
Exactly. It's about guts. Danny Cox had that. Chris Carpenter, no question, he had it too. Base hit by Wong, who's hitting over 400 in August to lead the club. Randall Grichuk, good night so far. The home run back in the second. And this is our Nissan drive of the game. Also the double and a run scored in the fourth. One thing that has happened here with Lucas Sims in this game is the 2-strike hit. He has not been able to put away the Cardinal hitters. That's the 5th 2-strike base hit in this game.
He's up to 88 pitches. Was a little surprised he's still in this game, but 5 runs used to be kind of the barometer of once you get to 5, we'll start looking towards the bullpen. But obviously Brian Snitker wanted to stretch him out a little bit more than that. I like his stuff. Chip Carey told us we'd like his stuff. We'd like his arm. And I see what he means.
And a ground ball left side. Could be 2. The scoop. What a pick by Freddie Freeman. And the double play. Celebration of the 87 champion club. It's 5-3 here at Busch. August 27th that day, 30,000 fans, 16 and older, receive one-of-a-kind Mike Shannon talking alarm clock presented by Goodwill. August 27th, tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. Well, apparently Mike Claiborne used that clock to wake up and get to the game today. Featured in the promo.
That's Buddy Bates' wife, Rochelle. And again, it's a family affair when you're part of the Cardinals organization. And again, the reunion extends beyond just the players.
Inning number 6 and a ball to Kurt Suzuki. Suzuki is 1 for 2, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Little chopper that's foul.
Cardinals starting pitching has been, Dan, I would say good. A lot of quality starts, not necessarily dominant starts, but a lot of 6-inning, 3-run starts in the last week or so. We've had that from Walker. We've had it from Mike Leake, where they go 6. Again, quality start, but the offense has been so good. We're happy with the quality start. 6 innings, 3 runs. That's good enough.
And the other part of that, too, the bullpen, for the most part, has been pretty good, too.
No question.
And right down the middle of the strikeout. We have a Cardinal employee, Adam Freudel, and we want to pass along our thoughts to Adam and his family. His father passed away, and he was a member of the Navy, fought in Vietnam. Tom Freudel passed away at just 73, way too young. And Adam, one of the real good people that we have the chance to work with. And Adam, we're thinking about you and your mom and your family. We know you're watching tonight, and our thoughts and prayers with you and your family. Here's a 1-0 pitch, and Adams fouls it back. Really, all the talk of spring training in many ways was Matt Adams. The body had changed. His stance had changed a little bit too, where he held his hands, and then he quickly readjusted back to what we're seeing here. But, you know, also just trying to figure out, okay, where's he going to play?
Well, the athleticism that he worked on during the offseason, which resulted in him slimming down, and the Pilates and the workout routine that he went through, and the way he ate, made him more athletic, which made left field at least a shot. Maybe we'll put him in the outfield. And Matt was telling me yesterday he's really at the same weight he came to spring training. It's been a life-changing thing for him in terms of his own physical situation, and the results on the field are following. He hasn't been necessarily hot the last couple of weeks, but he's going to have a nice career going forward.
Now just 3 for 22 in August is Adams. Ozzie Albies fouled back. So you go from Matt Adams to Albies. So you got the big guy, and then you got the little guy. And isn't that the beauty of baseball?
Yes. You got the Jack Clarks and the David Ecksteins and everything in between. You remarked how big Joe McGrain was in here. You don't know it till you're around him. And of course, Todd Worrell was here yesterday. Todd, by the way, I stood next to him during the ceremony today, and he looked up at the camera and saw him. He said, "What happened to my hair?" That's what he said while we were standing up there on the first base line. And I said, "Well, Todd, is this the first time you realized that?" He said, "Yeah, I guess, kind of."
Tom Lawless, looking at the highlights, said, "Look at that young man."
That's right.
Where'd he go? Time flies.
It does.
Here's a 3-2 pitch to Albies. First Brave 20 years or under to start since Freddie Freeman did that in 2010. The last Cardinal, by the way, David Green, was 20 years old when he debuted in 1981. Martinez strikes out the side, and it's 5-3. Bud Light, famous among friends. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Does it hurt to look at that?
Well, it hurts for a couple of reasons. First, I don't think I could get in that position. And secondly, that's not really the greatest of mechanics. That's not really how you're supposed to throw. It's how I did it. I didn't teach it that way when I coached. Don't watch me. Kind of a condor look is what Johnny Morris used to call it, who's here today and was making fun of me even as we talked at lunch today.
So do as I say, not as I do.
It's just not the right way to throw a baseball, but sometimes deception is part of it.
And a base hit into center field. We were guessing during the commercial break with the Cardinals pinch hit for Martinez. The answer is yes. Luke Voit at the on-deck circle, so that'll be it for Carlos. When he's been given a 3-run lead or more in his career, Carlos Martinez 28-0. We'll see if that holds tonight. So Luke Voit, the pinch hitter, batting .250 with 3 home runs and 12 RBIs.
I know he doesn't want to be a pinch hitter his whole big league career, but I think he's good at it. I think he's good at putting the ball in play. I think he also is a power threat. I think you have to have at least one thumper as a pinch hitter. Of course, Jose Martinez has been that you know what, you get a couple of guys on, you're down by 2 late, and this guy could change the game. I think Voigt's that kind of threat, and so is Jose Martinez.
A check on Garcia back in. 5-3 our score. If you're just joining us, it's the anniversary, 30th year, the anniversary of the 1987 Championship Club. Really nice ceremony before the game. Cardinals trailed 2-0 early on, now lead it 5-3. And a pitch taken low.
Last week or so, the Cardinals have done a nice job, and we talked about it in our open, of adding on. Paul DeJong has had a part of that the last 2 days to get that extra run. Cardinals are already up 2, but with 3 innings to go, this game clearly in the balance. And the more you can get and lengthen the lead, the more you take the wind out of the sails of the other team.
Mentioned it too last night how important it was the Cardinals get a win without using and certainly of great importance, Rosenthal, who has been just outstanding here in the second half. Here's a 2-1 pitch to Luke Voit. Three and one. But there's that fine line of aggression that you have to have as a pinch hitter, especially a power guy, but also willing to work late in a count and in a bat as a pinch hitter.
You can't be over anxious. You have to understand where your strength is, and you have to look for pitches in an area where you can handle. I think about what Tom Lawless told you, learned from Jack Clark before he hit that home run, which I hadn't heard that story either. Tom's been holding out a lot on me, but he said, Jack said, take the changeup, look for the fastball, and that's exactly what he did. And he's part of Cardinal history because he listened to Jack.
3-2. Yeah, how close are you to Lawless? I've got more info than you do.
Apparently. Those pitches all over the place against Voit. Way up, in.
There was a 3-1 changeup. Now what does he come with on 3-2?
I'd say fastball.
In the air, out to center. Inciarte with the catch. Back to the bag at first goes Garcia. The Academy Sports and Outdoor Leaderboard. There'll be a pitching change here momentarily, but best record against the East, and the Cardinals 21-9. Dodgers just ahead of them at 21-6. That's Sam Freeman, the former Cardinal. And this is our Chevy call to the pen. Carpenter coming up when we come back. Celebrate the 4th class of the Cardinals Hall of Fame inductees with a Hall of Fame canvas print. Compliments of Edward Jones. 30,000 fans 16 and older take home a unique canvas. And that includes Big Mac, Tim McCarver, Pepper Martin, who will be inducted into this year's Cardinals Hall of Fame. Cardinals.com/promotions. Sam Freeman, we saw him last night, hard throwing lefty, and he's found a home in the bullpen of the Atlanta Braves. Phillips 66. What's in the tank? 10 pitches last night.
And his first task is Matt Carpenter. Carpenter 0 for 2 against Freeman, and just wonder how long they'll go with Freeman. I always thought he was pretty good against right-handed batters because of his changeup.
Something that Sam was doing and he's continued to do when he was in St. Louis is read a lot of history books, in particular on baseball. He wanted to know more about the game and some of the great players and who they were, and he actually would take notes on all of them.
I thought it was interesting with the 87 guys, as we walked through the locker room and talked to a lot of players before we went out on the field. We were at the park early, had a lunch, had another event, had a media time, but then also went into the clubhouse. There were a number of players that wanted to meet guys, and some of them, and I think of a couple of the coaches too, wanted to make sure they met each one of the 87 players. And you know, some want to know about the history and others don't, but I think it's part of what makes this game great.
Here's a 1-1.
This is part of that. That's Mike Leake. He went by and looked everybody in the eye and wanted to know all of us, and kind of a nice moment.
Here's a 2-1. Lifted in the air out to shallow left. This is Adams. And Big City, no problem. Puts it away.
Not sure I'd say no problem. No problem because he didn't drop it. I wouldn't call him the smoothest left fielder in Major League history, but he got the job done.
Well, Tommy Pham, we showed you what the Cardinals have done against the East this year. Pham, it's interesting, 10 of his 14 home runs have been against teams from the National League East. He has none against the Central. If the Cardinals are to get to postseason play, They have to be better inside the division. A lot of games left inside the Central. The Cardinals are 8 games below 500. So in those head-to-head matchups, it's got to be better.
100% agree. You know, sometimes you look at those numbers and you say, well, are we bad against a certain division because they're just better than us, or were we playing them at a time where they were playing well and we weren't? And so there can be a little bit of that. So right now, are the Cardinals playing well because they're playing against the East, or they're just playing well?
Grounder to Dansby Swanson, and he makes the play. Good work by Sam Freeman. We head to the 7th, a special night here in St. Louis. Taking on a greater role here down the stretch for the Cardinals, and he has earned it. He's pitched very well.
Well, he has the lights out curveball at times. It has such late sharp break to it. Left-handers just can't seem to handle Tyler Lyons, and you know, he's just kind of had one of those years that just kept building. It's getting better and better and better. The walks are down. That's something early in his career he had a little more trouble with walks, and I think he's clearly a reliever now. I think that was also a question for Tyler Lyons. Is he a starter? Is he a reliever? Long guy, short guy? I mean, I think of him as certainly a guy that can go long, but he's been good in these late game situations as well. Let him stay out there for an inning, and I think the second time through the lineup is where he's had issues.
I think Lyons is having an issue with the plant leg coming in relief, and all guys are different. I noticed after maybe it was about 3 pitches ago when you were talking and we're just showing him warm up, he had an issue with maybe that hole and where he would drop that right foot, and Derek Lilliquist saw that and said, hey, get it right. And then he sent Molina out to visit with him too.
Well, I think Lily's attentive to this because, first of all, it's his pitcher. He wants to make sure it's right. But think of the knee issues that Tyler Lyons has had too. And if he's landing wrong with his knee, and that's going to create some issue for him, better get it right.
And the first pitch is a ground ball to Garcia. Tyler Lyons, including that ground ball, has allowed 1 hit to the last 27 he has faced, and that's 10 now, 10 consecutive scoreless innings. Carlos Martinez, with his 6 innings of work, is now at 154 1/3, which is second most in baseball. Chris Sale at 161 1/3, and then Martinez, and then Chris Archer.
You know, Dan, as the season rolls on, their Cardinal fans will have their favorite relievers they want to have in. They'll have the guys they don't want to see, and everybody's got their picks. How would you handle the bullpen today at the game you're watching or may be attending? But the point is, if you're going to win, You need production from they all need to pitch well. You can't just have a guy on your team and not use him. You can't do that anymore. Starters are going 6, so relievers are going to have to go 3 innings every night. They all have to be sharp.
Late break on the curveball and a strikeout for Tyler Lyons. BJC difference maker, innings pitched by relievers this year and their rankings. And the Cardinals the 4th fewest, and that could be big. When you talk late August, early September, maybe October, you never know. That is big.
The teams that have the higher innings tend to run out of gas.
I was talking with Terry Pendleton today about defense and the catches he would make with his back to the infield. None better than Terry Pendleton, and he tries to tell all his guys, go get the ball until it drops. Go get the ball.
Been really fun to be around Terry.
Lyons, smart move to let it go. The throw a little bit offline, but Carpenter, the footwork at the bag. 6 pitches, 5 strikes. Good work by Tyler Lyons. Free frozen Coke or McDouble the next day with the McDonald's app. Download it for exclusive deals. Here we are in the bottom of the 7th. 5-3 our score. The Gateway Honda home run inning. Cardinals hit a home run. The Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri.
Call to the bullpen. The Chevy call to the bullpen is Jose Ramirez, and what stands out with the numbers for Ramirez, he has a low earned run average, but just 171 opponents batting average against him. So that means he is not hitting many barrels of the bat.
Milwaukee and Cincinnati, they're tied 5-5. They're in the top of the 5th. Chicago and Arizona scoreless. And Pittsburgh lost 7-2 today. The Pirates will have Milwaukee next week. In the air, left center, off the bat of DeYoung, at the wall, and it's off the top of the wall and gone. DeYoung has done it again. Number 17 for the rookie.
know if there's such a thing as being the king of insurance RBIs late in ball games, but he's got that right now. 3 games in a row he's done it in the last 3 innings of a game, adding on to the Cardinals lead, and that's with a home run that just in Tom Lawless style barely goes out.
Thanks to Paul DeYoung. He just helped the Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri.
I'm guessing that was for the bullpen.
If not for Cody Bellinger, would DeYoung be the Rookie of the Year in the National League?
He'd be in the conversation, no question about it. I think an interesting question too will be, maybe I'll put this on a Twitter poll later tonight. Who will lead the Cardinals in home runs in 2017? There's a lot of choices.
Yeah. Here's a 1-2. And Fowler. It's a fly ball out to left. Adams with the catch. 1 away. Our Budweiser What's on Tap as we wrap up the homestand. Michael Wacha will come your way at 12:30. The knuckleballer R.A. Dickey 7-7. Wacha 9-4. That also has been something that hasn't garnered a lot of attention, but Michael Wacha taking the ball for the most part every 5th day and staying strong.
Maybe 1 turn was skipped purposefully, and he wasn't really happy about that necessarily. And then there was a time where he had a couple of bad starts in a row, and the consideration was maybe bullpen for Michael Wacha. And the Cardinals stuck with him in the rotation, and it's been the right move.
The Cardinals, no activity in their pen. Could see an extended outing here from Tyler Lyons, and there's a couple lefties coming up as well in the 8th. Swanson to his left, and he makes the play. RBI Baseball 2017 is out now for Xbox One, PS4, and Android. Enjoy fast-paced, pick up and play MLB action. Come ready to play. Learn more at RBIGame.com. Colton Wong has been on base twice, hit by a pitch and also a single. To second, Albies makes the play. Home run by Paul DeYoung moments ago. His 17th. His 2nd hit tonight, on base for the 3rd time. He's now driven in 41. What a start to his major league career. 6-3 St. Louis. be sold to a group that includes Derek Jeter. One of their first moves, it's been talked about, is removing the home run sculpture. $1 million sculpture, I might add.
I was going to say there probably won't be many people in the line that would object to that, but when you said $1 million, maybe.
Here's Phillips. He is homered tonight and looks at ball one.
Maybe we just need to find another home for it.
Here's a 1-0. Shallow right, going out Colton Wong. He's got it. Hyundai pitch arsenal with Tyler Lyons, the slider, curveball, whatever you want to call it, but the breaking ball is nasty.
Well, it's a little bit in between is what it is, and he'll open it up and he'll throw it bigger, and then he'll take a little bit off of it and make a little bit more of a downward spin on it. So it's a slurve essentially is what it is, but it's really sharp. I mean really sharp. The hitter just gives up on it. You think halfway there's no way that's going to come back over the plate.
He had one, I guess, about a week ago. We were in Cincinnati against Joey Votto, where even Votto was bailing on it.
It was a knee buckler.
Yeah.
I mean, and Votto's got a pretty good understanding of the strike zone.
1 ball, 1 strike. Freeman with a base hit to right, back in the first, scored a run and a double to left. Thought it was great to see TP being announced. Terry Pendleton wearing the Braves jersey underneath, but the Cardinal jersey.
I wasn't sure they were going to let him do that, but I thought it was great and so good to have him in our line. And he told me a story last night, Terry did, that I hadn't heard about a minor league experience involving George Kissel. We talk about George Kissel all the time, and so many of these players who become coaches, you learn from the people that coached you. And he said Kissel, after Terry had made a bad error in a game and done something really foolish, called him into his office, but also called the other 2 infielders in who were his buddies, Mike Harris and Bobby Meacham. And he called them into the office, and those guys said, well, wait a minute, why am I going in there? I didn't do anything wrong. So Kissel sat Pendleton and Harris and Meacham down, and he said, okay, you 2 guys, you tell him, Terry Pendleton, what he did wrong and why he needs to stop doing that. So he made the teammates kind of get on Terry. And Terry said it was an awful experience in a way, but what it taught him is that when you're a teammate, you need to help each other. And you can't be silent when somebody's making a mistake and making errors. It can't always be a coach doing that. So he was teaching. Interesting. Bobby Meacham became a coach later, right, with the Yankees. And Terry Pendleton has been a longtime coach. So that's one of the things about Kissel is he wasn't just teaching players, he was teaching future coaches.
It's the reason John Mabry is here. John Mabry said George Kissel told him, I'm giving you this knowledge. And remember, for Mabry, outfielder, first base, played the little third base. It was George Kissel that ran him through all those different drills to help convert him to the various spots. And he said, all right, when you're done, you owe it to somebody else and the game and me to coach.
That's why when you have celebrations like this, you always think about the people whose shoulders you're standing on. That people that have helped you get to the point where you can be at a ballpark in the big leagues and have a celebration with people that you competed with because they invested in you.
2-1 pitch. Markakis. It's a good example of that late break and a swing that he's late on. As you said, kind of giving up on a pitch, and all of a sudden, uh-oh. And now he's got to protect with 2 strikes. 0 for 2 with a walk back in the first inning.
Boy, that extra run feels different here, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Markakis always goes deep into counts. 23rd pitch he's seen tonight, and it's fouled back. Reminds you a little bit of what Fowler or Carpenter is able to do. Work a count, get a pitch count up. Good player. And the 2-2 is lifted in the air into right center. Racing after it, Fowler makes the catch. Outstanding play, Dexter Fowler. Long way to go.
He did. That is a spacious area of this ballpark, the deep gaps. And Fowler runs it down about halfway on the warning track.
And with 2 outs, it's Kurt Suzuki, John Brebbia throwing in the Cardinals pen. It saves a run, takes away an extra base hit. Run probably scores, and it prevents the tying run from coming to the plate. Up and in. Transplant Awareness Night presented by WashU Barnes Jewish Transplant Center coming up Thursday, August 24th. Get a Cardinals cap supporting organ donation. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/transplant. Here's a 1-0. I saw also as Tom Mee was shooting the 87 suite, Andy Van Slyke, and we mentioned it last night. Andy traded on April Fool's Day. Tony Pena coming to St. Louis.
I lost my roommate on April 1st. Thought he was kidding when he told me because of the day. And Tony Pena not here at the reunion, obviously still coaching. He's with the Yankees still, so had a long coaching career, managing career.
There's Andy there with Joe McGrain, John Tudor in the background. There's Tom Herr there with Tom Wallace.
And John Morris in that front row.
Tommy Herr in seat cushion night. A home run we'll never forget.
Pat Perry. John Morris and I were laughing about the day that I actually played right field in Philadelphia in 1987. Oquendo was pitching, McGee was playing short, and I played right. I think we lost 15-5. John knew the score. I couldn't remember it. And he was in center field with his glove over his face laughing at me the whole time.
How was McGee at short? Any chances?
I don't recall him having any balls hit to him, but you know, whatever Willie does works.
Right. 3-2 pitch.
My favorite part of that story, by the way, Mike Rourke, our pitching coach, came down to the bullpen. There were only 2 players left on the team because we were getting blown out. All pitchers, we were done. We couldn't pitch anymore. It was Todd Worrell and I in the bullpen. He came down, the pitching coach walked down to the bullpen. It was just Todd and I. And he said, Todd, Whitey was going to have you play right field, but he doesn't want you to get hurt, so let's put Rick out there. That's what he said. That's exactly what he said. I said, wait a minute. What are you trying to tell me? I said, I understand what you're saying, and I get it, but it still hurt.
Yeah. Keith O'Brien in our truck says Willie had 1 assist at shortstop.
Did he?
Yep. Willie at the ballpark for the luncheon today and also introduced, got a huge ovation along with you and Ozzie and Whitey. There's Matt Adams, and he represents the tying run. Lions had 6 pitches the entire 7th inning.
Well, the walks can hurt you. Any walks 8th inning or beyond. I mean, walks anytime are bad, but 8th inning and beyond, now you're in a stressful moment.
The 7-pitch at bat to Suzuki. And now it's 0-2 on Adams.
Got to go with that same pitch and make sure you finish it.
The 0-2. Got him. Nice work, tie the Lions. TP, Terry Pendleton, former MVP. One of our favorites as well. The 8th here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The T-Mobile Unlimited baseball break. Masahiro Tanaka placed on the DL for the Yankees. And Dustin Pedroia, as it pertains to the Cardinals, after being activated 4 days ago, knee inflammation. So we will not see him in the brief 2-game interleague series next week. Boston playing the Yankees this weekend, and they own a 4.5-game lead.
And that'll be a good team and a good test for the Cardinals to go on the road to play a team that's leading their division. And it's always fun to go to Fenway Park.
Yep. This is Max Fried, the Chevy called to the pen. Now, he was the 7th overall pick by San Diego, and they got him in the Justin Upton deal. This is only his 2nd major league appearance. Richick with a fly ball into shallow right, and the catch is made. I could hear Jack Buck right now. The lefty, spelled F-R-I-E-D. Fried, not fried.
That's great. That's good, Danny. Many of those 87 memories that we've all been talking about included being around Jack Buck.
Absolutely.
And Mike Shannon, of course.
Randy Carricker, who was at KMOX Sports for so many years, and I was there too. We used to have, we call it the bat phone, the red phone. It was a phone number that only certain people had. Randy told me the story about the night that Pendleton hit that home run. Jack was getting ready to do a Vikings football game, so he called, kept calling, giving me updates. Randy tells him, game over, it's done. Hits the home run. Randy then jumps out of his seat, knocks the dust off the stuff above him because his head hits it. Comes all down on him, screaming into the phone to Jack Buck. Grichuk and DeYoung, the State Farm double play. The home runs hit tonight. This one by Randall. And for Grichuk, number 15. DeYoung, number 17. Yadier Molina, the only position player in the Cardinals lineup without a hit tonight. And this will be Jose Martinez.
We had a young mad Hungarian as one of our broadcasters back in the 80s as well. So you think about the times we spent together, and it was good to see another guy. One other player that I'd like to mention is Greg Matthews, who's here. We don't see him a lot. Greg has moved back to California, and he is in a group of guys over 50 that spend most of their time surfing. That's what he's doing, which is so fitting for our friend Greg.
Well, you told me that earlier, and I said, well, apropos. You know, I mean, that's Greg Matthews.
And such an important part of that staff. He had 11 wins that year, led the team in strikeouts, and won Game 1 against the Giants in the playoffs.
Every bit a left-hander, too.
Every bit. Well, there were 9 left-handed pitchers, and we called him lefty. So what does that tell you?
Here's a 2-1 pitch to Jose Martinez. And a strike. 3-2.
Oops. Just out of the zone, or was it?
(3-2), and that is officially ball 4. Great to have Mitch Smith with us for the first time. Doing a great job helping us out. He'll be back with us tomorrow, too.
You mean we get to do this again tomorrow?
We do. Now, will many of those 87 players scatter after tonight? Some coming back?
I think a number will be spending the night, and I'm not sure if they'll be able to stay through the game or the whole game or not, but get a chance to hang with them tonight some, and hopefully they'll stay for the final game of the series as well, at least part of it.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Cardinals. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Read that well, Dan.
Thank you. Closing in on a record of 8,572 times read. And I still couldn't do it without a piece of paper in front of me that
That's right.
I have to read.
I get it.
You know, the funny part, and it was just like this with the 64 guys, 67, and tonight 87. All of you guys say it's like you just picked up where you left off
right
in 1987. The stories, the goofiness, the camaraderie, all of it.
Well, I enjoyed the 67 for the reasons you were just talking about, to watch those men connect. And that was 50 years. And so a long time between some of them seeing each other. And you fall back into some patterns of conversation and some habits, and yet it's a bond you'll never forget. I actually told that to Jose Martinez today in the clubhouse, and Dave LaPointe and I were talking, and I don't see Dave in that shot at the moment. We were talking to Jose, and we said that we're having experiences that 30 years from now you'll look back and you'll remember details and moments and games and situations that'll be fun to celebrate down the road. He was tracking that.
2-2. Inside corner. So the strikeout of Carpenter sends us to the ninth. Boys, he's been good since the All-Star break. A .68 ERA, 9 2/3 scoreless innings. .63 our score. Cardinals trying to make it 8 in a row.
Lately, a lot of first pitch strikes from Trevor Rosenthal. Command of his fastball. He's mixed pitches well. He's just really been on a roll. He has certainly reclaimed the closer's role, and he doesn't appear to be looking back.
One ball and one strike on Albies. Foul back. His emergence to take this role and run with it, it's been big.
They needed him to do that. I mean, there was a time where the Cardinals had a fair number of games that they lost 7th inning and beyond, and it was kind of snowballing in the wrong direction. But I think he's been the anchor for the positive change, and everything's kind of filled in front of him because he's been locked down in the ninth.
2-2. Last 6 appearances, all have been saves for Rosenthal. The 2-2 pitch. Change up, had him out in front. Fly ball into right. This should be out number 1. One away. If you can't catch the games on TV, you can stream them live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go. Download the app. Take Fox Sports Midwest and Cardinals baseball with you wherever you go. The Fan, the other night we caught him. Fox Sports Go, they had the Rally Cat. They weren't going to miss any angle of the Rally Cat.
That's a great shot.
Chicago and Arizona, they are scoreless in the bottom of the 6th. A fastball to Swanson at 96, taken for a ball. The Cardinals with a win would move to 5 games above the 500 mark. pick up a game on Pittsburgh. Now Swanson's still trying to get his feet at this level. He's 4 for his last 55.
Well, when he was sent down to AAA, he didn't hit there either.
Two and one.
They still have high hopes for him, but I mean, no other way to say it. He's been a disappointment.
The 2-1 pitch. And it's a liner and a base hit into right. .97 on this pitch.
Not easy pitch to hit either. Coming in on him. Little late movement. Good velocity.
Are you going to rejoin your teammates after the game?
Oh, you bet there'll be a rejoin.
Will I see you tomorrow?
Of course. Never fear, Danny.
You're a pro's pro.
You know, we can do day games after night games.
Sure.
Pick your spots, Danny.
Hopefully Gene Gieselman will still be with you guys too and help you out. Longtime Cardinals trainer. Ground ball hit to the right side. Wong stumbled a bit, makes the play. And no. Carpenter dropped it.
Such an odd play. Colton gets his bounce, nice easy throw, and he just doesn't catch it. And Mike Matheny's wondering whether he picked it up in time. Does he? They're going to look at this, but I think he's going to be called safe.
This late in the game,
oh,
you have nothing to lose.
You have to look at it. So he's dropped it. Now he has to pick it up.
It's close.
This is like a wide receiver question. When is it in the grasp?
Boy, isn't that the truth? We always talk about it has to hit the back of the glove. We never talk
what about the hand.
Right.
You just touch it, or do you have to have control of it?
I would assume control.
I don't think this is going to go the Cardinals' way. I hate to tell you.
If indeed it is an error, it'll be just the Cardinals' 5th in their last 20 games. However, it does bring up the tying run to the plate. Things have just gotten very interesting.
Well, it's interesting because of the psychological shift that took place. I mean, we all assumed, everybody assumed, Trevor Rosenthal assumed that Colton Wong made the right play, didn't rush to try to get the lead runner at second, just had the nice easy throw to first, and then you already mentally transfer to next hitter, last out, here we go, and all of a sudden it's not that. There are 2 guys on base, tying run at the plate, only 1 out, and some more work to do.
Inciarte 1 for 6 with a strikeout against Trevor Rosenthal. And again, the home run by DeYoung looms large in this game. Braves tonight 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. 2 balls, no strikes. If you're Rosenthal, you got to regroup quickly.
Boy. Well, the good thing is that Trevor Rosenthal has a high level of confidence at the moment. He's got multiple pitches he's comfortable with. Changeup, he's throwing for strikes. Fastball has hop to it. He's not really lost right now. He knows there should be 2 outs, but I wouldn't think his confidence has gone down at all.
Good fastball, and it's 2-2. Two-two pitch, struck him out. 98 on the gun.
Well, I'd be confident too if I could throw 98 with some hop to it. He elevates up in the zone, can't catch up.
Phillips 3 for 12. Off of Trevor Rosenthal. Cardinals 1 out away from win number 8 in a row. A pickoff down to first and safe. The Cardinals trying to go 5 games above 500 for the first time since May 16th, when they were 21-16. If it holds, it'll be the 6th come from behind win during this 8-game streak potentially. The 1-0. 2 balls and no strikes.
Maybe an obvious statement, Dan, but down by 3, tying run at the plate, you get picked off of first base. It should never be that close. You're walking home.
The 2-0. 2-1. The 2-1. Rosenthal just seeing that reaction. He thought this was without question a strike.
That's because Yachty did a nice job of framing it
Sure
to make
did.
it look that way. And the danger now is the guy on deck. That's the guy I'm most worried about at the moment. Although Phillips certainly a professional hitter.
3-1 pitch. 3-2. The man on deck, Freddie Freeman. Three-two. 99 on the gun. Tell you what, this is as loud as I can remember Busch Stadium being all year long.
The fans have had a lot to cheer about in the last week, hoping for more.
Three-two again. Bases loaded. Freddie Freeman.
Oh, so close on 2 counts. Is it a strike? Almost. Is it a swing? Almost. Does not go the Cardinals' way. Now this is the guy you didn't want to face.
Two outs, bases loaded. Strike to Freeman on a late call. Oh for 5 in this spot this year.
Just got tense, didn't it?
Oh boy. Now time is called. Outfield very deep. Freeman is 1 for 2 against Trevor Rosenthal in his career. One player that wants this win badly is the Cardinal first baseman. The 0-1. 0-2.
Tied him up, didn't he?
The 0-2. Base hit into right. 2 runs will score. Phillips to third. And that makes it a 6-5 St. Louis lead. Freeman delivers on the 0-2 pitch. And now DeYoung's home run is huge in this game.
Right down the middle, 0-2. That's not the location he was looking for. Freeman, a good fastball hitter. He threw him a changeup, then a little slider, then the 0-2 fastball. He tried to, I think, elevate, and he just didn't get it up there. And that is going to bring a mound visit. Mike Matheny having a conversation with Ted Barrett at the moment. And I don't know if it's about the swing or not of Brandon Phillips. That would have been strike 3. Maybe it's something on that last play, however, because David Bell was on the phone. I wonder if something about somebody not touching a base, perhaps.
So I'm thinking Phillips maybe at second, or it could have been anybody on the bases at that point.
Well, what they thought they saw that they didn't see, it didn't happen. So now you're left with the situation. 6-5 Cardinals, 2 outs, 9th inning. Markakis at the plate.
And Rosenthal at 26 pitches this inning. Freeman's first 3-hit game since April 29th at Milwaukee. 2 outs, 2 on. First pitch to Markakis. Strike 1. Both runs unearned. Freeman takes the bag at second. Base hit could put the Braves on top. And the home plate umpire hearing it from the Braves dugout now after that pitch. And again, third time in this game. Braves down to their final strike. The 0-2. What the confidence to throw that pitch in this situation.
Oh my goodness. I was so close to a lot of bad things, including hitting Markakis, and worse, getting away from Yadier Molina, who smothered it. Absolutely smothered it. And there's the manager approval. he was pretty good at doing that himself. Really good.
Here's a 1-2.
I think it's interesting, the Cardinals conceding a stolen base.
Exactly.
With a 1-run lead, and the idea was they wanted Carpenter to, I guess, to have more defensive range with the left-handed batting Markakis at the plate. But the problem is now a base hit, you have bigger damage.
Here's a 1-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. He's lost the feel of that changeup a little bit as this inning goes on.
Pitch count up. I think when the pitch count goes up, the feel goes down. Or he can get a little weary. Boy, he needs a pitch here.
The 2-2. Got him! 8 wins in a row. 6-5 the final. And the Cardinals look for a sweep tomorrow afternoon.
Trevor gets his man. And in a day where we celebrate champions from 30 years ago, the Cardinals are playing like champions, winning 8 straight games.
Paul DeJong, his home run late proves to be big. He's your Budweiser player of the game. 2 for 3. Solo home run, a single, a walk, 5 driven in the last 3 games, and all 5 coming in the 7th inning or later for Paul DeJong. Plenty more to come on Fox Sports Midwest, the post-game show. All the news, highlights, stats around the league. The Cardinals have won 8 in a row, and they're 5 games above the 500 mark. 6-5 the final.